Hello, and welcome to Food Reviews with me, where I review foods in my car. And today, the Swanson Beef Pie. And I always say there's nothing like a good beef pie. So, here we go. So here's the Swanson Beef Pie. A little bit disappointed by the shape that it's in right now. It said to make slits on the top of the pie crust, and the thing about that is it was completely frozen. It was in the freezer, which is how you're supposed to store it traditionally. So as you can see, I had markings here on the top of the pie crust, but apparently they didn't go through enough, or they weren't big enough holes, and the pie decided to just right out the bottom, and that's what we're left with. So hopefully what this lacks in structural integrity, it makes up for in taste. It does smell quite nice, so that's already a check. Let's give it a try. It is quite thick. It's not too runny. And that's not generally something I would look for in a beef pie, but it is something that I am looking for in this one. Cheers. Kind of tastes like gravy. The pie crust is a little mushy. The pie crust, like, it looks like it should be light and flaky, but really, in reality, it just seems like undercooked. Like, this is the bottom of it. It's all just wet. It's all just wet and mushy. Wet and mushy pie crust. I don't know. I mean, it tastes fine. And you're not going to get sick from eating a wet and mushy pie crust. At least to my knowledge. I haven't in the past. I don't think I've ever actually eaten a wet and mushy pie crust before. That I can think of. I don't think I have. Like, the taste is fine. It's kind of bland. Like, even the gravy. The gravy is kind of bland. And for the pie, it doesn't look like there's much of anything in here. I don't know. Oh, there's a piece of beef right here. That's the first piece of beef I've seen. Right here. And for a beef pie, you would think there would be a substantial amount of beef. But maybe technically, maybe legally, all they need is one piece of beef to legally call it a beef pie. Maybe that's how they get around it. I don't know for sure. Maybe there is some more beef in here, but this is the only one I've seen. Does taste like beef. The texture does seem a little bit off, but that's not surprising, seeing as what the shape of the rest of this is looking like. I'm not very surprised by anything right now. There's another piece of beef. I don't know if you can see that. I think you can. Right there. That is beef. I really don't like this mushy pie crust. It just tastes raw. It tastes raw and soggy. Two things that you would generally avoid in foods. Raw and soggy. Like, no matter what it is. That's generally a pretty negative way to describe some food. I can't think of anything that I would like to eat that would be better if it was raw and soggy. Except for, anyways, talking about this beef pie right here, which is not the ideal beef pie, in my opinion. I was looking forward to a nice beef pie, and this is not a nice beef pie. This is a sloppy mess that's raw and soggy. The beef isn't raw. Let's get that straight. The beef is not raw. The pie crust is raw and soggy. But I think I would have to rate the Swanson's Beef Pie which is quite a small thing. It is quite small. I'm not super disappointed in the size of it. I was expecting a smaller pie, seeing as the box is smaller than your average Swanson or Hungry Man meal. I was expecting this. This is all right. This was completely understandable, but I was not expecting the soggy raw pie crust. There was only 3 pieces of beef that I did see, and they weren't big enough, in my opinion. And there just wasn't enough beef. There wasn't enough beef to call it. There wasn't enough beef. If I was going to be making a beef pie, I would put in at least twice as much beef as they put in. But maybe they put in the bare minimum to legally call it a beef pie, which is a little disappointing coming from such a high quality meal. I mean, historically, I followed the instructions as best I could. I put it on a microwave safe plate. I put it in the microwave for 4 minutes. It said 4 to 5 minutes. If it exploded after 4 minutes, I can only imagine what would have happened if I had it in there for 1 extra minute. I don't know if I would be here right now making this review, but my final rating on this Swanson beef pie, I'd have to give it like a 5. A 5? Is 5 too generous? I don't know. It did. A raw pie crust does change the taste of it quite substantially. I'm giving it a 4. I'm changing my mind. I'm changing it to a 4. I would not recommend the Swanson beef pie. Thank you for watching.